Hi, welcome to Highland Cottage Books. I'm Martha and this is Highland Cottage, and today we are going to talk about audiobooks with perfect narrators. I made some coffee and tea. There's root beer in the fridge, so have a seat on the couch and let's talk books. The first audiobook that I want to talk about is Nosatu by Joe Hill, narrated by Kate Mulgrew. It is, first, we have to mention it. We just have to mention it. I'm sorry. You can't mention Joe Hill without mentioning a certain elephant in the room, which is Joe Hill is Stephen King's son. That having been said, he is absolutely an accomplished and great writer in his own right. And don't hold that against him, or do hold it against him, depending on how you feel about his parentage. It tells the tale of Charlie Manx, a man of indeterminate age who kidnaps young children and takes them to a place called Christmas Land in his Rolls-Royce Wraith. Despite the festive name, Christmas Land is not a place that you want to visit, either as a child, but especially as an adult, actually. And happily, he has a reluctant adversary in Vic McQueen, a young woman who has an uncanny ability to find lost things. Nosferatu is terrifying, dark, hilarious, and heartwarming by turns, and I highly recommend it as a book, however you consume it. But I will say that Kate Mulgrew is an amazing addition and certainly adds to the whole experience. If you don't know Kate Mulgrew, get to know her. She has this fabulous voice that is very Katharine Hepburn. It's a little gravelly. Charlie Manx was a bad man. It's wonderful to hear her flex her considerable acting chops and hear her distinctive voice. You may know her. She was in Star Trek Voyager as Captain Janeway. She was also in Orange is the New Black, I believe, as a character called Red. I haven't seen it, but I believe that's who she plays. You've certainly heard her voice somewhere before. When you have someone narrating a book that has such a distinctive voice, it can be distracting. But in this case, because of her considerable prowess as an actor, she only adds to the scene. She never steals the scene. It's also really fun to hear Captain Janeway curse up a storm and hear her play characters. There's this one kind of gormless sort of goofball slacker guy who just goes, "Oh, dude," all the time. And it just makes me laugh to hear her say that. She is a consummate storyteller, handling a very good story to tell you. The next audiobook is The Whisper Man by Alex North, narrated by Christopher Eccleston. In The Whisper Man, we focus on a town where a generation ago, a series of horrific crimes took place. A man kidnapped and did away with a bunch of little boys, and the only surviving kid tells the story that when he was in his bedroom, he heard a voice outside of his window trying to entice him to come outside. So that is where the Whisper Man gets his name. And try to sleep well after hearing that. Now, a few decades later, it seems like those crimes might be starting up again, even though the killer has been convicted and has been sitting in jail the whole time, having confessed his crimes. So what's happening? Is there a copycat killer? Did he have an accomplice? At the heart of the story, we're actually following a father and a son who are grieving the loss of their wife and their mother, respectively, and sort of muddling through. The father is at his wit's end. His son it doesn't have any friends that aren't imaginary and doesn't seem to get along with other kids. He's the target of bullying, and there are some times when the father just wants his kid to be normal. And what Christopher Eccleston does is add a sort of harangued, beleaguered, bewildered, exasperated spice to the whole story. He does kind of at his wit's end very, very, very well, without losing his humanity. You can hear the vulnerability in his voice at the same time. Christopher Eccleston, you might know him from Doctor Who, The Leftovers, Thor, or I guess the last season of True Detective. You've certainly seen him in something before. This story is about fathers and sons, and it is frightening and twisty and turning, and I absolutely recommend it as an audiobook. Leave the lights on. Leave the lights on and lock your windows. The Order of Time by Carlo Rovelli is a nonfiction book exploring theoretical physics, specifically the construct of time, which apparently is a completely man-made thing. It is a man-made measurement that is not objective. I can't explain it very well, but do you know who can? Benedict Cumberbatch. You know that joke, that person's voice is so great I could just listen to them read the phone book. This is more interesting than the phone book, but I will say that I got lost a few times in some of the descriptions, but and that is not the fault of the author. He does a wonderful job of kind of pulling out all of the complicated bits of this very complicated subject in a way that, even a layperson like myself can understand. But there were a few concepts that I needed to hear a few times. And what better person to tell me those concepts and to cheer me on as I hit that, go back 30 seconds than Benedict Cumberbatch, whose voice I found very pleasing and was delightful. And I would highly recommend this book. It is a fascinating look at time, cause, effect, objective, subjective, all the things. It has also a bunch of Shakespeare in it to move things along in a colorful way. But I would not have picked it up if it were not Mr. Cumberbatch reading it. And I'm very glad that I did, and I suspect you will enjoy this book as well. The next audiobook is Brave New World, a classic dystopian story narrated by Michael York. You probably know two things about Brave New World. You know that it's a society, a future society, where people are genetically modified to fit into a very strict caste system where their fates and their place in society is determined from birth, and that everybody takes a drug called soma, which makes them happy. So if they're at all sad, take some soma and you will be glad. They also use subliminal messaging and little jingles like that to control the members of the populace. What I found interesting about the book when I heard it for the first time, and then I read it, the more traditional way, is that in order to control people, they make intimacy verboten. So nobody has any families because, of course, they come out of bottles. They're raised in dormitories, but any sort of friendships or love is looked down upon. In fact, it's considered a little bit obscene to have any sort of true ties, true emotional ties to anyone. So in order to make sure that people don't feel intimacy, don't build true human relationships. They encourage rampant promiscuity, which makes a lot of sense when you think about it. Michael York was a huge movie star in the 1970s. I know him from Logan's Run and from Cabaret. Later generations might know him as Basil Exposition in Austin Powers, the spy who shagged me, and the other movies in that. He adds a certain world weariness. He's plummy, he's posh, he's a little bit befuddled, and all the things that Michael York is adds to this wonderful stew of this character who does feel a little more deeply than many of his compatriots. You know, he does the unthinkable and decides to go on second and third dates with the same woman. He yearns for friendships that are a little closer than, you know, just seeing someone and you're the person I hang out with tonight, and is kind of bored with a world full of novelty. He wants something more permanent. So he cannot be let to stand, as it were. Michael York does a wonderful job. He is an excellent actor, and he certainly adds to this tale. Fire and Blood by George R.R. Martin, narrated by Simon Vance, is an ersatz history of the Targaryens, a very powerful family in the Song of Ice and Fire saga, which you also may know as Game of Thrones. The Targaryens have dragons, power, sociopathic tendencies, and some predilections that are pretty gross. And so when you tell the history of them, you need a little bit of a contrast, and Simon Vance provides that. It is told as if it is a straight history, and almost a dusty tome that you would you'd find in a library, to the point that it's almost a little bit satire. So that's lovely. But Simon Vance has this voice that is English. It's very erudite and it's soothing. And he sounds like your favorite compelling professor, just, you know, to sit back and listen to, which is the perfect thing. You don't want someone who has a very spicy voice, because the Targaryens do not need any zhuzhing up. If you are unfamiliar with Game of Thrones, I would not start here. I would start in the more traditional books, or I would watch the TV show. You will be a bit confused. Not that, you know, this history isn't full of, you know, Viserion beget Aegon, beget Tiffany, beget Brittany. It's not like that. It's much more compelling and narrative driven, but you will be lost. You will be lost if you don't know who these characters are, or at least you won't be getting the full picture, I should say. Anyway, if you are a fan, you should absolutely check it out. And it is the basis in part for the House of the Dragon, which is HBO's most recent offerings regarding that world. So there you have it, 5 audiobooks made even better because they have perfect narrators. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. I'm new here and I need all the subscribers I can get to grow my channel. Thank you so much for spending time with me today, and I will see you soon. Bye.